So since posting my last video about how to get an SBA loan to start a business, I realized I got a lot of comments asking about my specific business plan and how to write a business plan tailored to SBA loans. And I do have another video on business plans that I'll link up here. But for right now, I wanted to do a series over the next few videos that will describe my exact journey through the process. So from my formation of my business plan to my application process, the time it took during that, what questions were asked, what other information and documentation we needed, as well as the funding stage, how we broke out our specific loan and where that money went to as concerned with starting the business. So in this video, I'm going to discuss just that business plan. I'm going to discuss all the sections of it, what I put into it, what flavor, what things to look out for, what you will need, what the lenders come back with questions, all surrounding in the business plan. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified when the next other videos drop. So welcome to Mystery Money. My name's Nick. If you're new to the channel, we talk about relevant financial terms as well as topics that surround money. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So roughly 4 years ago, my brother and I decided to start a trucking business. Mainly because he had been driving for other carriers for a time being and realized quickly that he wanted to be his own boss and he wanted to be able to run his own truck and take the loads he wanted and not have to deal with the issues of being a company driver. So when he approached me, this is what I do in my main job. I sat down and I said, okay, well, this is what we're going to need. Let's formulate a plan. Let's get it started. I reached out to my local SBDC and they helped me with formulating my business plan and working with numbers and things like that I knew I would have to present to a lender in order to get a loan. I'm actually going to use this as reference. I redacted all of the personal and company information just because I don't want it out there. I'm sure you could find it if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to divulge it. So in the first section of my business plan, it has an executive summary. In this summary, it talks exactly about what we're going to do to run our business. You know, it talks about that we were going to purchase a single truck. My brother was going to be the driver. I was going to run the QuickBooks and the financing aspect and all of the paperwork. It talked about who we were going to lease to. We were originally going to lease to one carrier. All of our plates and permits and all those things would be taken care of by the carrier, so we didn't have to deal with it. And then it just goes into the basics of the business and what you're overall going to accomplish. If you're getting value so far, do me a favor, hit that like button and share this video to someone who may be worried about starting a business and this could help them out. The next section is going to be resumes. So whoever's going to be involved in this business, you're going to have their resume. You have to speak on the resume what values they bring to the business, what aspect of their past experience or future benefits they would bring to the company. You know, you can cut out all the mundane information like they're really good with Word. You want to put relevant experience. So if they have bookkeeping experience or banking, lending, those types of things, finance background, speak to those strengths. If you're starting a business that's service oriented, you want to speak to the ability to gain customers or that you've worked in those industries for quite some time and you know the industries in and outs. And then another important aspect you want to include is market research. So for my particular company, I made sure I went on and I used all sorts of periodicals such as Overdrive Magazine. I went on and looked at news articles on trucking companies and looked at the potential pitfalls and downfalls that the industry has. You know, I speak to the amount of owner-operators in existence and how many of those companies are the sizes and things like that, and comparing what I'm planning on doing with what is out there. You know, I can't go to the SBA and say I'm starting, you know, Nick's semi-truck company and use prime logistics numbers. It just doesn't work. You know, I have to use small trucking companies, find something that are 10 trucks, 15 trucks, and compare it to that, showing where I could potentially go with this business. You want to speak to the customers. So if you're in a restaurant industry, and I use those because I have some experience with that too, you're going to speak to your customer acquisitions. Who is your target customer you're going to go after? Are you going to go for the convenience customer who's willing to pay a little bit more to get that service? You know, if you were going to be a Grubhub driver and you needed to buy a car, you know, speak to your area and what institutions may surround it, such as colleges or large bodies of customers that you can tap into. If you're in a relatively underserved market, how can you use that as your competitive advantage in order to enter the market? Or if you're in a overly competitive market, what are you going to do to differentiate yourself between you and your competition? And then you're going to go into financials. So one of the things you're going to need are projections. The SBA usually requires 1 to 2 years of projections, maybe up to 3 depending on the type of business. In the first and second year, you're going to need projections by month and possibly by quarter. They want to see, do you know what you're talking about? Are you taking industry numbers and applying it to your business? In the average small business, this is the X revenue you can experience. This is the rough costs of those expenses, and this is the net profit. Most businesses are going to run at a loss for a few months, possibly even years. So address that in your business plan. How do you plan on overcoming that? Do you have savings set aside in order to cover your housing expenses or other personal expenses while your business is starting up? Speak to that. It's never a bad thing to show a loss as long as you can justify why you're at a loss. Startup is a very good example of why you would have losses. You have no income and you're starting from scratch. So obviously you have to build that customer base, you have to build that loyalty, you have to build those sales. Along with the financials, you're going to need a sources and uses. You're going to say exactly what you're going to use the loan funds for. You're going to break it down. What equipment, what working capital, salaries. You can see here I broke it down as, the purchase of the semi-truck, the working capital loan costs, and what the total loan amount would be, and then what our equity injection is. Typically the SBA requires 10% minimum, and actually our loan ended up being around $93,000, so it was a little different from the beginning. And again, with working capital can be used for all sorts of things that are non-tangible, such as equipment. So break it out like that. And here you can see my breakdown of what I was looking at. I actually put 3 months of loan payments away because I knew going forward that we probably wouldn't have revenue for maybe a month after we started because of the time lapse with being paid carriers and the money in the startups. So I put those aside. And then your financial assumptions are going to be what you expect your costs you're going to incur. And then with the assumptions, this is where it's going to play into your projections. So with my final assumptions, I'm going to be perfectly honest and say they were way out of whack. I took what was on our original carrier's sell sheet that they sent us and thought, oh, well, that's gospel. That's what it's going to cost. I didn't take into effect of a lot of maintenance and breakdowns and costs. If I were to redo this business plan today, it would look completely different than it did when I presented it. Make sure you're using relevant information in the industry, and if your industry has a growth of 3%, don't project 12% because you know what you're doing. And then in conclusion, you're going to sum it up. You're going to sum everything in your business plan as to the reason why the SBA should back your loan. And when I say this is your selling point, your last-ditch effort to say, this is a great business idea. Here is why I think we will succeed. So once your business plan is done, and I'll actually show projections, or the sheets with projections, not close enough that you can see it, but enough that you can get an idea. And I'll put links to where you can find the projection templates. They're most of your SBDCs, which are your small business development centers, will have them attached to their websites, or you can download them somewhere. But like I said, they typically want at least the first 2 years. First year is going to be monthly, and then the second year can be quarterly. But that's a way to start to get the financial projections going. So until the next video comes out, make sure you check out this video here that shows the benefits of the SBA loans. And until next time, have a great day.